Daniel Hale stood quietly in the docking bay of the Zarian capital station. The shining metal walls reflected the banners of the Zarian Empire, blue, silver, and gold, symbols of their long history and power. Around him, alien attendants with tall crowns and flowing robes prepared to welcome him. He was a guest, but he felt like a stranger stepping into a place far larger than himself. For many years, the Zarians and humans had exchanged words but never shared true trust. This was the first time a human diplomat had been invited to the palace of Queen Seralith herself. To many back on Earth, this was a sign of progress. To Daniel, it was a test. He adjusted his black formal jacket, the only human clothing among alien robes. His heart beat quickly, but his face remained calm. He had been trained for this. Speak carefully, watch every move, and remember that one mistake could cost not only his honor, but his people's future. Two Zarian guards with silver spears walked forward. Their tall frames and glowing eyes made them look like statues brought to life. One guard spoke in a deep, steady voice. "Human Daniel Hale, the Queen awaits you in the Hall of Stars. Follow." Daniel nodded. "Thank you." His voice was steady, though his chest felt heavy. They led him through shining corridors that curved like rivers of light. The Zarians loved beauty. Every wall held carvings of past victories. Every ceiling glowed with painted skies. Daniel tried not to stare too much, but the sight of alien history pressed on him. Humanity's history was short compared to this empire. Yet here he was, walking as an equal guest. At last, the great doors opened. The Hall of Stars stretched before him. The ceiling shimmered like the night sky, filled with tiny moving lights that formed constellations. Rows of nobles sat in curved seats, their eyes fixed on the human guest. At the far end, on a throne of silver and crystal, sat Queen Seralith. Her crown was not of gold, but of living light, moving like gentle fire across her brow. Her gaze was sharp, calm, and commanding. Even without speaking, her presence filled the hall. Beside her stood her daughter, Princess Elira. She was young, with bright emerald eyes and hair like strands of silver. Unlike the nobles who watched Daniel with distance, she studied him with open curiosity. When their eyes met, she gave a small smile. Daniel bowed deeply, placing one hand over his chest as humans did to show respect. "Your Majesty, I come with greetings from Earth and gratitude for your invitation." The Queen's voice carried across the hall, soft but powerful. "Human Daniel, you stand where few of your kind have stood. You are welcome in my hall. Tonight you will dine with us. Tomorrow we shall speak of matters between your world and mine." A murmur passed through the nobles, some approving, some doubtful. To them, humans were still a young species, untested, uncertain. Yet the Queen had chosen to honor this man. That night, Daniel sat at the long banquet table. Strange, glowing fruits and steaming dishes of crystal blue fish were placed before him. He ate carefully, asking the attendants about each dish before tasting it. The nobles whispered among themselves, some watching with amusement, others with suspicion. But the princess did not whisper. She spoke directly to him. "Tell me, Daniel of Earth, is it true your world has oceans so wide you cannot see the end?" Daniel nodded, smiling politely. "Yes, Princess. Our oceans are vast. Sailors once crossed them with only stars to guide them." Her eyes lit with wonder. "Stars for guides? That is beautiful. On our world we follow the crystals in the ground. They sing, and their echoes guide us home." The table fell silent as the princess continued to ask questions. She wanted to know about Earth's forests, its skies, its stories. Daniel answered gently, never boasting, never exaggerating. His words were simple, but they painted pictures of his world. The nobles whispered again. Many saw her attention as a sign of interest. Some smiled knowingly, others frowned. A human gaining the princess's favor was unusual, even unthinkable, but Daniel, though polite, kept his answers short. He did not lean closer. He did not meet her gaze for long. Each time the princess tried to extend the talk, he shifted the subject to something safe. The princess noticed. After the meal, as music filled the hall, Elira approached him once more. "Do you not enjoy my questions, Daniel of Earth?" she asked softly. Daniel bowed slightly. "I enjoy them, Princess, but I fear I may speak too much and take your time from others." Her smile faded just a little. "You are cautious, human." "Caution has kept my people alive," Daniel replied gently. She tilted her head, studying him as if he were a puzzle. But before she could ask more, the queen rose, ending the feast. The next day, Daniel joined the queen in her court in the Garden of Lights. Crystal trees glowed softly in the sun, and streams of silver water ran between them. The princess walked beside her mother, and once again her eyes searched for the human. Daniel, however, kept a respectful distance, speaking only when the queen asked him questions. The nobles noticed. Their whispers grew. By the time the sun set, half the court was murmuring, "Why does the human avoid the princess? Is it pride? Is it fear? Is it insult?" The queen herself noticed, though she said nothing. On the third day, a grand gathering was held in the Hall of Stars once again. The queen's throne gleamed brighter than before, and the nobles filled the room. At her side, the princess stood, her eyes downcast, her hands folded. When Daniel was called forward, he bowed as always. But this time the queen did not give him a polite welcome. Instead, her voice cut through the hall like a blade. "Human Daniel, hail," she said, her gaze fixed on him. "My daughter shows kindness to you. She speaks to you with curiosity and with patience. Yet you avoid her. You turn from her questions. You keep your distance. Tell me why." The hall fell silent. Every noble leaned forward. The princess froze, her face turning pale with surprise. Daniel stood straight. His heart pounded in his chest, but he did not let fear show. He looked at the queen, then at the princess, then back at the queen. "Your Majesty," he said slowly, "I do not wish to answer in haste. May I ask for your leave to speak fully with respect before all gathered here?" The queen's eyes narrowed. Silence hung heavy in the air. Then with a slight nod she said, "You may speak. But choose your words with care, human. For the court watches, and so do I." Daniel bowed once more, his mind steadying itself. He knew this moment was greater than any he had faced. His answer would not only shape his fate, but also the image of his entire people. And so, in the Hall of Stars, with every eye upon him, Daniel prepared to speak. The Hall of Stars seemed to grow larger as Daniel Hale stood at its center. Hundreds of Zarian eyes followed his every movement, some curious, others suspicious. He felt the weight of the moment pressing on his shoulders, heavier than any battlefield he had ever imagined. Yet he did not falter. Queen Saralith's gaze bore into him, steady and unyielding. Beside her, Princess Elira's eyes shimmered with a mixture of anticipation and worry. Daniel knew that his answer would shape how the Zarians saw humans, not just him, but his entire species. He took a deep breath. "Your Majesty," he began, his voice clear, "I will answer your question honestly as you have commanded. But I ask that you listen carefully and without judgment, for my words may seem unusual to your ears." The queen inclined her head slightly. "Speak, human. The court waits." Daniel allowed a brief silence before continuing. "I do not avoid Princess Elira because I dislike her. I do not avoid her out of fear or pride. I avoid her because I respect her." A soft murmur passed through the court. Some nobles exchanged glances, puzzled by the unexpected answer. The princess looked up sharply, her curiosity shining through. "Respect?" she asked softly, almost a whisper, but loud enough for him to hear. "Yes, princess," Daniel said, meeting her eyes with steady calm. "On my world, people often form connections quickly, sometimes without thought. Alliances, marriages, friendships, they can be born from convenience, expectation, or even power. But I have learned that the greatest honor is to treat another person as a complete being, with their own mind and heart, not merely as a symbol or a prize." The queen's eyebrows rose. Her sharp gaze never left him. She had heard many speeches in her long life, but none had been quite like this. Daniel continued, "I avoid you, princess, because I do not wish to treat you as an opportunity. You are the daughter of a queen, yes, but more importantly, you are your own person. I wish to speak with you honestly, without expectation, without pretense, and without the pressure of appearances. That is why I keep my distance." The hall fell silent. Nobles who had expected excuses or flattery now found themselves listening in stunned attention. Some had never heard a human speak with such clarity and sincerity. Others had never seen one refuse to gain favor through words of vanity. The princess blinked, her emerald eyes wide. Daniel's words were simple, yet they carried a depth that touched something in her, a mixture of surprise, admiration, and curiosity. Queen Saralith's voice broke the silence. "And you believe that keeping distance is respect?" Her tone was calm, but her words carried weight. Daniel bowed his head slightly. "Yes, your Majesty. True respect does not demand closeness. It does not seek attention. It recognizes value in silence, thoughtfulness, and understanding. It is easy to approach someone because they are powerful or beautiful. It is harder to show respect by honoring their independence. A murmur rose from the nobles again, this time softer, filled with quiet amazement. Many of them had never considered such an approach. In the Zarian court, gestures of flattery and attention were the usual ways to gain favor. Yet Daniel had said none of that. He had refused to play the expected game. Princess Elira took a careful step forward. "Human Daniel," she said softly, I never thought someone could see me this way. Not as a princess, but as a person." Daniel nodded. "I see you as you are, princess. I wish to understand, not to impress. I wish to listen, not to claim. That is why I avoid what many would call opportunity, and instead choose honesty." The queen leaned back slightly, her fingers touching the crystal armrest of her throne. Her expression was unreadable. For centuries, she had dealt with nobles, diplomats, and rulers of other worlds. All had tried to impress her, to win her favor with clever words or grand promises. Yet none had spoken like this human, who measured his words with care and spoke with truth. "Interesting," she said finally. "You value honesty over advantage. You value respect over flattery. Many of my court would say that is foolish. Many would say that you miss your chance to gain favor. Yet you choose this path." "Yes, Your Majesty," Daniel said calmly, "because I believe that favor earned through pretense is not honor. True respect cannot be demanded or manipulated. It must be recognized." The hall was silent again. Even the attendants seemed to hold their breath. Princess Elira's gaze softened, a smile forming on her lips. For the first time she felt that someone saw her, truly, without expectation. The queen studied Daniel closely. "You have answered well, human," she said after a pause. "Perhaps your people are not as naive as I believed. You speak with courage, though not the kind that raises swords. You risk nothing less than misunderstanding and scorn. Yet you stand firm. That is unusual." Daniel inclined his head. "I am aware, Your Majesty. But courage is not always shown in battle. Sometimes it is shown in words. Sometimes it is shown in the choice to be honest when falsehood would be easier. That is the courage I offer here." The princess's smile grew. "You are very different from anyone I have known, Daniel. Most who meet me seek to gain something. You do not. That is strange, but—" "Good," Daniel bowed slightly. "Thank you, princess. I only wish to show what is true, not what is expected." A quiet tension filled the hall. The queen's lips pressed together as she regarded him. She had expected a human to be clever, but cleverness alone was not enough to impress her. Daniel had not tried to impress her. He had not flattered her daughter. He had spoken truth, and for a queen who had lived for centuries, that truth struck harder than any charm. Finally she spoke. "Your words are noted, human Daniel. You have given me reason to reconsider how humans think, how they act, and what they value. You have also given my daughter a glimpse of a world beyond expectation and power. That is rare. That is valuable." The princess's eyes sparkled. "Mother?" she asked softly. "Yes, Elira." She speaks of value, and Daniel shows it. "He respects me as a person, not as a prize. Isn't that what we should hope for?" The queen nodded slowly. "Perhaps, child, perhaps." She looked back at Daniel. "You will dine with us again tonight. But I warn you, your answer has raised curiosity and perhaps envy among those present. Choose your words carefully in the future, not because you must flatter, but because you must remain honest and wise." Daniel bowed deeply. "I understand, Your Majesty. I shall do my best." The princess moved a step closer, lowering her voice so only Daniel could hear. "I like your honesty," she said softly. "Few dare to speak the truth in the Hall of Stars." Daniel nodded, feeling a warmth he had not expected. "And I like your curiosity, princess. It makes listening a pleasure." The queen rose, signaling the end of the meeting. The court disperses. Prepare for tonight's banquet. As the nobles filed out, many glanced at Daniel with newfound respect. The whispers that had been filled with suspicion were now tinged with admiration. A human had spoken his truth in the presence of the Zarian queen, and he had not faltered. Outside the hall, the princess walked beside him for a moment. "Tell me," she said quietly, "how do you carry such calm when the entire court watches you?" Daniel smiled faintly. "I think of my people, princess. I think of why I am here. I remember that truth is stronger than fear, and I try to speak as if I am alone even when I am not." She nodded thoughtfully. I have much to learn from you, Daniel of Earth. Perhaps more than you know. And with that, they parted. Daniel was led back to his chambers, his heart lighter than it had been in days. He had faced the Queen's question, answered with honesty, and survived the court's scrutiny. But he also knew this was only the beginning. The Zarian Empire was vast, full of challenges and full of expectations. He would have to navigate not only diplomacy but also pride, tradition, and suspicion. Yet for the first time he felt that his honesty could be his greatest weapon, and perhaps one day his greatest ally. The Hall of Stars had witnessed a human speak truth, and that alone had changed something, though neither Daniel nor the Zarians could yet see how far that change would go. The morning sun filtered through the crystal windows of the Zarian palace, casting delicate patterns of light on the polished floor. Daniel Hale walked through the corridors with measured steps, aware of the weight of the Queen's gaze from the night before. Her question had not only tested his honesty, but also placed him under scrutiny. Every move he made, every word he spoke would be watched closely. He reached the courtyard where Princess Illyra waited. Today they were to embark on a journey, one that the Queen had arranged secretly. Daniel did not yet know the full purpose of this mission, but he sensed it would test more than his diplomacy. "Good morning, Daniel," Illyra greeted, her voice carrying a mixture of warmth and concern. "The Queen has given strict instructions. We are to travel beyond the capital to the frontier outpost. There, you will understand why she chose you for this task." Daniel inclined his head. "I am ready, Princess. Tell me only what I need to know." Illyra led him to a small transport vessel, silver and sleek, designed for speed rather than comfort. As they lifted off the ground, the sprawling city of the capital fell behind them. Vast deserts of crystal and forests of glowing flora stretched toward the horizon. Daniel watched quietly, memorizing the terrain. Humans had long trained themselves to observe, and this habit would serve him well in the days ahead. After several hours, the vessel landed at a frontier outpost. It was smaller than the capital, with modest structures, but the air held tension. The outpost commander, a Zarian named Tyvis, greeted them with a stiff bow. "Your Highness, human diplomat," Tyvis said formally, "we have received reports of pirate activity near our sector. They have threatened our supply lines and put our people at risk." Daniel nodded. "I understand. Tell me what you have observed." The commander gestured to a holographic map. "The pirates strike swiftly, then vanish. Their technology is advanced, but their coordination is predictable. If one can outthink them, the outpost can defend itself." Daniel studied the map carefully. The pirate strikes had a rhythm. They hit where the outpost was vulnerable, then moved to avoid retaliation. But humans often thrived in situations where cunning and quick thinking mattered more than raw strength. Illyra noticed his calm. "You do not seem afraid," she said softly. Daniel shook his head. "Fear is useless if we act without strategy. We must think, observe, and act. That is how humans survive." Over the next hours, Daniel walked the perimeter, spoke with guards, and learned the outpost's routines. He noticed patterns in their patrols, blind spots in the defenses, and timing in the supply shipments. While Zarians relied heavily on advanced weapons and force, Daniel relied on observation, deduction, and planning. That night, the pirates attacked. Their ships blazed across the sky, firing energy beams that cracked the crystal floors of the outpost. Panic spread among the guards, but Daniel remained composed. He quickly gathered the commanders. "We cannot match their firepower," he said, "but we can use the terrain. Lead the attackers toward the Crystal Canyon. Its narrow paths will limit their maneuvering. Then we can set traps using the environment, not weapons. Are you ready to follow my instructions?" The commanders hesitated. They were proud warriors, accustomed to direct combat. Yet Daniel's calm confidence persuaded them. They nodded. Under Daniel's direction, the outpost's forces set up barriers and lure points. Princess Illyra watched closely, impressed by his leadership. He coordinated silently, positioning patrols and signaling traps with subtle gestures. As the pirates entered the canyon, the traps sprang into action. Crystal panels fell to block paths, energy conduits redirected to disable their engines, and hidden charges created walls that trapped the attackers. The pirates, confident in their superior technology, found themselves disoriented. Daniel moved among the defenders, giving clear instructions and encouraging them. "Hold this position. Wait for the signal. Patience wins." Hours passed and the battle continued. Daniel's strategy worked better than anyone had hoped. The pirates, unable to navigate the terrain and surprised by the clever traps, began to retreat. The outpost survived with minimal damage. Princess Elira approached Daniel after the skirmish. Her eyes shone with admiration. "You turned the battle with your mind, not weapons," she said. "I have never seen such strategy." Daniel smiled faintly. "Humans have always relied on ingenuity. We may lack strength compared to others, but our minds can match almost any opponent." Elira nodded. "Your courage is different too. You did not fight because it was expected, but because it was necessary. That is remarkable." Meanwhile, reports of the victory reached the Queen. She listened quietly, her expression unreadable. Humans had been underestimated for centuries, thought to be clever but fragile, weak in both strength and tradition. Yet Daniel's actions proved otherwise. His mind, courage, and patience had saved an outpost that could have been destroyed. The next morning, Daniel and Elira returned to the capital. The journey back was quiet, each lost in their thoughts. Elira finally spoke. "You do not seek glory, Daniel. That is why your actions are so human. You act for others, not for yourself." Daniel nodded. "It is what I was taught. To survive and to thrive, one must consider more than personal gain. Honor, respect, and cooperation guide our actions." When they reached the palace, the Queen awaited them. She did not speak immediately, letting them enter her private chamber. Once they were inside, she addressed Daniel directly. "You have returned with success," she said. "Not by force, but by wisdom and courage. The court will hear of this victory, and they will speak your name with respect. Tell me, human Daniel, how do you maintain such balance? How do you combine thought and action so effectively?" Daniel bowed his head respectfully. "Your Majesty, humans learn from experience. We observe, adapt, and act with reason. Strength is useful, but knowledge and careful thought often decide outcomes faster than force alone." The Queen's gaze softened. "You are unlike any human I imagined. You carry wisdom beyond your years and courage beyond your kind. Princess Elira has much to learn from you, and perhaps I have too." The princess stepped forward, smiling. "I have learned already, Mother. Daniel has shown me that courage is not just in arms and honesty is stronger than pretense, and that intelligence paired with kindness can overcome almost any challenge." The Queen's lips curved slightly into a rare smile. "Indeed. You have passed a test none of my advisors could have predicted, Daniel. You have shown the value of humanity, not by boasting or winning favor, but by acting with heart and mind as one." Daniel inclined his head. "I am honored, Your Majesty. I only hope that my actions reflect well on my people." "Indeed they do," the Queen said softly. "Indeed they do." As the sun set over the crystal towers of the palace, Daniel felt a quiet pride. He had faced his first true test beyond words and had succeeded not by power, but by thinking, observing, and acting with courage and care. He had proven that humans, though young in the galaxy, could match even the oldest empires in strategy, honesty, and heart. Princess Elira lingered nearby. "Daniel, you are more than a diplomat. You are an example of what humanity can be. I hope you will stay and teach us more." Daniel smiled. "I will stay as long as the Queen allows, Princess. And I will continue to learn as much as I teach." The Queen watched them quietly from her throne. For the first time in years, she felt a flicker of hope for the future. Hope that humans, with their courage, honesty, and ingenuity, might not only survive but thrive in a galaxy ruled by ancient powers. And so, Daniel Hale, human diplomat, returned to the capital not as a guest, but as a symbol, proof that courage, wisdom, and integrity could stand against even the oldest and most powerful civilizations. The calm of the Zarian capital did not last long. Days after Daniel Hale's success at the frontier outpost, reports arrived of a fleet approaching from the edge of known space. These were no ordinary traders or explorers. They were raiders, alien forces that had terrorized several nearby systems. Their ships were massive, dark, and heavily armed, designed for swift attacks and plundering. Queen Seralith convened her council in the Hall of Stars. The entire court gathered, buzzing with tension. Daniel and Princess Elira were present, as the Queen had requested their presence personally. Tyves, the commander who had worked with Daniel at the outpost, reported first. "Your Majesty, the enemy fleet is unlike any we have faced. Their numbers are great, and their technology rivals even our own. We could attempt a direct assault, but casualties would be high. Strategy, not strength, must guide us. The Queen's eyes swept over the council. "And yet," she said, her voice steady, "we cannot allow them to reach the capital. The safety of my people is non-negotiable." All eyes turned to Daniel. "Human Daniel," the Queen said, "you have proven your ability to think and act with foresight. I ask you now, what would you advise in this crisis?" Daniel studied the holographic projection of the incoming fleet. Each ship was marked in dark red, moving steadily toward the capital's defensive perimeter. He could see the patterns. Their approach was aggressive but predictable in timing and formation. He straightened. "We cannot match their fleet in a straight fight," he said calmly. "But we can use deception and knowledge of our terrain." "Their confidence in raw power is their weakness," the court murmured. Using trickery against a fleet so large was risky. Yet Daniel's calm demeanor reassured them. "What do you propose?" the Queen asked. Daniel pointed at the holographic map. "The space near the crystal moons is treacherous. Narrow passages, magnetic storms, and hidden asteroids. If we lure the enemy there, their larger ships will be forced to slow down. We can then use small agile craft to harass their fleet, force confusion, and guide them into traps." Princess Elira leaned closer, intrigued. "So you would fight them with patience and planning, not brute force?" Daniel nodded. "Exactly. Patience, misdirection, and coordination can overcome superior numbers. We must make them think the battle is in one place while we strike in another." Queen Sarilith considered this. "Very well, human. You will lead the strategy. I will grant you authority over my naval commanders for this engagement. Fail, and the consequences will be yours." Daniel bowed. "I understand, Your Majesty." Within hours, the Zarian fleet moved toward the crystal moons, positioning themselves according to Daniel's instructions. Small groups of human-led squadrons were placed at strategic points, ready to feint attacks and pull the enemy where Daniel wanted them. As the alien fleet neared, the first attacks began. The enemy launched plasma bursts and energy beams, attempting to disrupt the Zarian formations. Yet Daniel's plan held. The enemy ships fell into the narrow passages, slowed by the treacherous asteroid fields. His small squadrons moved quickly, dodging the larger ships' fire and striking at weak points. Princess Elira watched from the command center, amazed. They are huge and powerful, but Daniel's plan works. The enemy is trapped by their own confidence. Hours passed. The aliens grew frustrated, trying to break formation, but Daniel anticipated every move. The Zarian forces, guided by human ingenuity, struck repeatedly at vulnerable points. Each attack was calculated, each retreat purposeful. Slowly, the alien fleet began to scatter, unable to maneuver in the treacherous terrain and confused by Daniel's feints. Finally, the last of the raiders retreated, leaving the Zarian capital unharmed. Cheers erupted throughout the command center. Princess Elira turned to Daniel, her eyes shining with admiration. "You did it! Your strategy saved the capital." Daniel shook his head modestly. "We all worked together, Princess. I only guided the plan. Courage and skill came from every pilot and soldier here." Queen Sarilith entered the command center, her presence commanding silence. She approached Daniel slowly. "You have done more than guide a fleet, human. You have shown wisdom, courage, and leadership beyond your years. Many centuries of Zarian commanders could not have done what you did today." Daniel bowed. "I am honored, Your Majesty. It is my duty to protect life and to act with reason." The Queen studied him for a long moment. "You speak and act with humility, yet your accomplishments are great. Humans are indeed unusual. Perhaps your kind has the potential to rise even further in the galaxy." Princess Elira stepped forward. "Mother, you see it too." "Daniel is not only brave, but his thinking is different. He respects life, he values honesty, and he protects others without seeking reward. That is why the people trust him, and why he has earned our respect." The Queen's gaze softened slightly. "Yes, Elira. He has proven what I have often suspected, that strength is not always in the arm or the fleet, but in the mind and the heart." Daniel's thoughts drifted briefly. He had faced danger, risked lives, and guided a fleet in crisis. Yet the lesson he carried was simple. Humanity's greatest advantage was not sheer power, but ingenuity, cooperation, and respect for others. These qualities had allowed him to survive, guide, and protect, even in the presence of a civilization far older and more powerful than his own. The Queen's voice broke his thoughts. "Daniel, you have faced what many would call impossible, yet you prevailed. For that you have my deepest respect." You are no longer just a guest in my court. You have become an example of what humans can achieve. The princess's smile widened. And that example has inspired many here. Even my people are beginning to see humans differently. Not as weak newcomers, but as equals capable of great things. Daniel bowed. I am grateful, Princess. I only hope that our actions continue to reflect well on humanity. Queen Sarilith turned to the nobles assembled in the hall. Let all witness this day. Let it be known that a human, acting with courage, wisdom, and respect, has protected our empire from a threat that many thought insurmountable. Remember this lesson. Strength alone does not win battles. Strategy, cooperation, and honor do. The nobles bowed deeply, some with reluctance, others with genuine admiration. Daniel's reputation had grown beyond what he had imagined. Humans had always been underestimated in the galaxy, but now their abilities, courage, intelligence, and integrity were being recognized in a court that had ruled for centuries. After the formalities, Princess Elira approached Daniel once more. You were amazing today, she said softly. Not just because of the plan, but because of the way you guided people. They listened because you trusted them and showed respect. That is rare. Daniel smiled faintly. I learned long ago that respect encourages cooperation. Force alone may win a battle, but it cannot earn loyalty or trust. The princess nodded thoughtfully. I hope you will stay, Daniel. There is so much more we could learn from you, and perhaps teach you as well. Daniel looked at the glowing horizon beyond the palace. I will stay, Princess, as long as the Queen allows, and I will continue to learn, for every victory is only the beginning of understanding. The Queen watched them quietly from her throne, a flicker of approval in her eyes. She had witnessed courage, intellect, and honor in action. Humans were indeed unusual, yet capable of greatness. Perhaps in time they could become a true ally not only in power but in wisdom and heart. That evening the palace celebrated. Music filled the halls, lights shimmered across crystal walls, and the people of the capital spoke in awe of the human who had saved them. Daniel remained modest, focusing on helping the soldiers and learning more about the Zarian people. He had proven humanity's worth not by conquest but by cleverness, courage, and respect. And as Princess Elira watched him quietly, she realized that Daniel's influence was more than diplomatic. It was a reminder that humans, young though they were in the galaxy, carried the potential to change minds, hearts, and perhaps even history itself. The Zarian palace glowed under the twin moons, the crystal towers reflecting light across the city. The capital had returned to calm after the recent threat, but for Daniel Hale, the days ahead would be even more significant than the battles themselves. His actions had earned respect, but now he faced the weight of responsibility. How to ensure that humans were seen not as guests, but as equals in a galaxy full of pride and power. Queen Sarilith summoned Daniel to her private chambers. The room was filled with softly glowing crystal ornaments, and the hum of the palace's energy systems made the air feel alive. Princess Elira was present as well, her emerald eyes reflecting curiosity and pride. Daniel, the Queen said, her voice calm but commanding, you have demonstrated what I long suspected, that humans possess courage, wisdom, and integrity unlike any other species I have encountered. But your deeds alone are not enough. You must now show how humanity can build alliances, not just victories. Daniel bowed respectfully. Your Majesty, I will do my best. Humans value trust and honor, and I hope to show that we can contribute to your empire's peace as well as its defense. The Queen studied him, her expression thoughtful. Very well. There is a council meeting tomorrow, attended by representatives of neighboring systems. They may doubt humans even after all you have done. You will speak, and your words must reflect both honesty and vision. That evening, Daniel walked through the palace gardens with Princess Elira. Streams of silver water reflected the moons above, and crystal flowers glowed softly in the twilight. Do you feel ready? She asked, her voice gentle. Daniel looked at her, considering the question. I am ready, Princess, but I do not speak for myself alone. I speak for my people and for the hope that humans and Zarians and all who value peace can work together. Elira smiled. I believe they will listen. You have earned more than respect. You have earned trust. The next morning, the Hall of Stars filled with dignitaries from neighboring systems, aliens of many shapes and colors, some enormous, some tiny, all gathered to witness what a human could offer to the galaxy. Whispers filled the hall. Curiosity, doubt, admiration. Daniel's presence at the center drew eyes, and many leaned forward to listen. Queen Saralith gave a subtle nod, signaling that he had the floor. Daniel stepped forward and spoke clearly, calmly, and with honesty. Honored leaders, he began. We gather at a time when the galaxy faces challenges not only from conflict, but from distrust and misunderstanding. My people, humans, are young in comparison to many here. We have much to learn, but we also bring lessons of our own. Lessons of cooperation, courage, and integrity. The value of life, the power of honesty, and the strength of careful thought are what guide us. He paused, letting his words sink in. The hall was silent. Even the most skeptical of aliens leaned forward, hearing a human speak not for advantage but for unity. We have faced threats together with the Zarian Empire, Daniel continued. We have fought not for conquest but to protect those who could not defend themselves alone. We have shown that courage and intelligence combined with respect for others can overcome forces far stronger than our own. This is not the strength of one species alone. It is the strength of cooperation and trust. And it is this strength that I offer to the galaxy. A murmur of approval spread through the hall. Representatives exchanged glances, impressed by the clarity and humility of his words. He did not boast. He did not demand respect. He simply showed it through his deeds and his vision. The Queen spoke after him, her voice carrying authority and admiration. Daniel Hale has proven that humanity is capable of greatness not only in battle, but in judgment and heart. Let his example remind us all that respect, wisdom, and courage are more powerful than any fleet or weapon. Princess Alira stepped beside him, quietly whispering, "You have done more than impress the court. You have inspired them." Daniel nodded humbly. "And you have inspired me, Princess. You taught me that guidance and trust are as important as strategy. Without your people's support, none of this would have been possible." The council erupted in applause, a sound that filled the Hall of Stars with warmth and hope. The humans present cheered quietly, proud of their representative, while alien dignitaries stood, acknowledging that a human had earned their respect not through fear or power, but through honesty, courage, and wisdom. Days later, the Queen held a private audience with Daniel and Princess Alira. She regarded them both carefully. "Daniel," she said, "you have done more than protect my empire or prove your people's worth. You have changed the way we see humans. I will not hide it. Many of my advisors feared your kind. They saw youth as weakness, simplicity as naivety. But you have shown them otherwise. Humans have heart, mind, and courage, qualities even the oldest civilizations must respect." Daniel bowed deeply. "Your Majesty, it is an honor to serve. I hope my actions will continue to build trust between our peoples." The Queen nodded. "Indeed, and you have earned your place here not as a guest, but as a symbol of what humanity can achieve." She glanced at Princess Alira. "And my daughter has learned a lesson as well, that greatness is not always in titles or power, but in honesty, courage, and respect." Alira smiled. "I have learned much, Mother. Daniel has shown me that words and actions guided by integrity are more powerful than any crown or fleet." Daniel felt a quiet warmth. He had come to the Zarian court as a diplomat, cautious and careful, and he now left a legacy of trust, respect, and understanding. But more importantly, he had shown that humans, though young and untested in galactic terms, could rise to challenges with heart and mind united. Weeks later, the court celebrated a festival of peace. Music filled the crystal halls and streams of light danced across the towers of the capital. Daniel walked among the dignitaries, quietly advising on strategy, diplomacy, and cooperation. He no longer felt like an outsider. He felt like a participant, a bridge between humans and Zarians and between civilizations that had long misunderstood each other. Princess Alira walked beside him during the festival. "Daniel, look at them," she said. "They are smiling, laughing. They trust your people now." Daniel looked around. The Zarian court, once filled with suspicion, now moved with a sense of unity. "It is not only my work, Princess. It is theirs as well. Trust grows when it is earned together." Alira nodded thoughtfully. "You have left a mark on this empire, Daniel. One that will last far longer than this festival or even our generation." Daniel smiled. "And perhaps one day, humans and Zarians will build more than trust. We may build a galaxy where all who value honesty, courage, and respect can stand together. The queen watched them from her throne, a rare smile on her lips. Perhaps humans are the hope I did not expect, she whispered. Perhaps your kind will do better than we did. Daniel did not hear her words, but he felt their truth in the calm pride of Princess Elira, in the respectful nods of the council, and in the quiet hope spreading among the citizens. He had come to the Zarian Empire as a cautious diplomat, but he left as a symbol, a proof that humans with honesty, courage, and wisdom could rise above expectations and inspire entire civilizations. As the moon set and the crystal towers reflected the first light of a new day, Daniel Hale walked with Princess Elira through the palace gardens. He felt a quiet certainty that this was only the beginning. Humans had much to learn, yes, but they also had much to give, a gift of integrity, courage, and the ability to unite even the most diverse of species. The galaxy had seen a human's worth, and it would not forget.